The regular meeting of the Police Conduct Oversight Commission has now begun.
Good evening. My name is Robert Jackson Pino. I have been asked by Chair Abigail Sarah of the Police Conduct Oversight Commission to call this meeting for January 11th, 2022 to order. As we begin, I will note for the record that this meeting has remote participation by members of the Commission and city staff as authorized under Minnesota Statute Section 13D.021 due to the declared local public health emergency. The city will be recording and posting this meeting to the city's website and YouTube channel as a means of increasing public access and transparency. This meeting is public and subject to Minnesota open meeting law. At this time, I will ask the clerk to call the roll so we can verify a quorum for this meeting.
Commissioner Crockett.
Here.
Commissioner McGuire.
Present.
Commissioner Sarah is absent. Commissioner Sylvester.
Here.
Commissioner Sparks is absent. Chair Pino.
Here.
There are 4 members present.
Let the record reflect we have a quorum. Next, we'll proceed to our agenda, a copy of which has been posted for public access to the city's legislative information management system, which is available at lims.minneapolismn.gov, and the minutes from the last meeting. I will note before a motion that we do have a time conflict with another commissioner that will compel us to end at 7:30 tonight. So this will be a 45-minute meeting. But in light of that, I will ask to amend this agenda to strike item 5, the case summaries, and postpone that to our next meeting. With that, I will ask the clerk to adopt the agenda with my motion to accept this agenda as amended.
Commissioner Pino, I believe you will need a second.
Commissioner McGuire, I second the motion.
Thank you. Yeah, can we?
Would you like me to call the roll?
Yeah, could the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Crockett.
Aye.
Commissioner McGuire.
Aye.
Commissioner Sylvester.
Aye.
Chair Pino.
Aye.
There are 4 ayes.
That motion carries. Next, we will adopt the minutes from December 14th, 2021. And may I have a motion to adopt those minutes?
Commissioner McGuire, I move to adopt the minutes.
All right. And I'll second for that. And could the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Crockett.
Aye.
Commissioner McGuire.
Aye.
Commissioner Sylvester.
Aye.
Chair Pino.
Aye.
There are 4 ayes.
That motion carries, and the minutes for December 14th, 2021 are accepted. Our next item of business is an update on the mayor's community safety work group. And I recognize Jared Jeffries, the mayor's public safety policy aide, to give that update. Mr. Jeffries, are you available? Are you here?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
I can.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Chair Pino, and thank you, commissioners, for inviting me, allowing me to speak here. I'll be concise, as I know that this meeting is very short, so I will kind of give a brief explanation of the work that's ongoing, address some concerns that were raised to me, and then answer any questions that all of you may have too. So kind of at a high level, the mayor's community safety work group is tasked with providing recommendations on a wide variety of community safety related topics, including police reform, accountability, alternatives, violence prevention, along with pretty much anything that relates to public and community safety. So it's a very wide spectrum of topics, and so they are tasked with issuing recommendations on those topics, with the timeline tentatively being beginning of Q2 of this year for those recommendations. And so those recommendations will essentially form the mayor's policy and the city's perspective and approach to community safety in all these regards as we move forward here. And so with that, I know there was some concern last meeting about how this overlaps with a lot of the work that the PCOC is doing. And so just to kind of give a little bit of the mechanics of how we see this working, the work group will obviously be giving recommendations on several things, including accountability and police misconduct and just kind of our systems in which address that. And because the PCOC is part of that, it's not that's kind of how it fits into this. They're examining the work that all of you are doing, that the PCRP is doing, that OPCR is doing. So kind of how it all fits together and how it all works. So I hope that addresses any concerns that were allayed as far as kind of the scope of PCOC's work versus the community safety work group. And I know there has been discussion among the work group members too, as to like who to invite to present, who to invite to speak. The mayor is being very hands off as far as allowing this work group to go do the work, go seek information on the topics they want to seek information on, and then provide recommendations based upon the information they're receiving from city staff, external experts, and yes, so on and so forth. So that's kind of a very high level just overview of what's going on, and happy to take any questions based on that or any discussion from last meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Jeffries. I do have a couple questions, but I'll open it up to the group. First, are there any questions from commissioners for Mr. Jeffries?
If you want to start, Commissioner Pino, please go ahead.
Sure. First question that I have is entered on the a discussion topic we regularly have here at the PCOC is a struggle from our perspective is the concept of teeth enforcement of some ideas that we have. And I would love to hear your and the mayor's perspective on, or I guess even an editorial of the idea surrounding enforcement of emerging policy ideas or recommended changes. Do you believe that that's something that's working right now? If not, what needs to change and what is the right method of making those changes so that way there is improved enforcement of some of these policy changes?
Yeah, so I first want to say thank you for the work that all of you are putting into this. I know, especially in just analyzing a lot of these issues and getting information in a very virtual world that can oftentimes be really challenging. So thank you for sticking with it and for your dedication to this work. The first thing I'll say is continuing to stay the course as to the research and analysis of what the city's doing and just everything, the policies, kind of, all this group and the subgroups have done excellent work on, warrants, on a lot of different topics here over the last 2 years, or the last year and a half, the year that I've been here in my position, I've seen. And so I would say keep doing the work there and then delineating the policy recommendations. So, whether it's making a change to an existing MPD policy, and I think over the last few months where changes like the proposed recommendations, changes have been submitted to our office, to the chief's office, to OPCR. I think doing that is the best way to continue to push that. And, if there are specific conversations that you want to have in this forum, continue to invite folks. And I think, this group has gone over and over again about kind of the dynamics and how it works with the city. And I think continuing to build bridges and reach out, I think the efforts will pay off and are paying off. So that's what I would say. And I'll just say very briefly too, the recommendations that have been forwarded to our office over the last 2 months are being reviewed by city staff and external stakeholders. And we're trying to work on ways that we can implement some of those and plan to come back to all of you once we have those next steps in line.
Thank you. And I will simply say for the rest of the group that our chair has been working with Mr. Jeffries, and in her report, which I'm going to skip and piecemeal throughout this conversation, she has reiterated that Mr. Jeffries has accepted those and that thank you for considering those proposals. My second question, in light of your point about building bridges and working together, one thing that we've been trying to improve upon here in the past year or so is the ability to increase information flow, particularly with sharing data. Data disclosure is still a major need here. We can't really do the proper policy analysis that we would love to do without the data to analyze. And I understand that that is nested within a larger conversation about state regulation. What conversations have you and the mayor had, if any, regarding what we can do short of changing state law, so that way we can increase information sharing and have some of these new policy ideas come and become more fruitful for the city?
Yeah, sure. Just a clarification there, Chair Pino. So when you're talking about information flow, are you talking about specifically to this group or to the public generally, or what are you referencing there? Just
well, we're a public-facing entity,
Sure.
and we have, although we've had a discourse here about to the extent to which we are able to view data that is not necessarily available to the public. That has, let's take a given that we are only able to view public information.
Sure.
In light of that, we often are told that we're limited in a lot of the information that would be really illuminating in being able to do a proper data analysis of what's going on at MPD, and making sure that the policies that they have match the practices that are going on in the department. And that's a struggle, particularly for me in the audit committee. And would love to think of ways that we're still holding to what is, legally binding at state regulations and holding to the Data Practices Act, but able to move forward and push the needle a little bit in some of our data analysis. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so 2 parts. I'll answer in 2 parts there. So the first is that I'll speak for like the city staff that I've worked with on this generally, but we continue to push the bounds with the state data practices office of what they feel we can or should share publicly. It's something that I know OPCR staff, MPD staff, they want to share more publicly too. And because it's really frustrating when they can't talk about it publicly, because it does, there's this back and forth tension where it feels like we're not being forthcoming, and it's frustrating on your end and the public's end that you're not getting the information that you need to get a full picture of everything. So that I'll just say that we are having conversations internally and with the state data practices office on just how we can provide more and more information, and that's something that we're going to plan on we're going to do our best to improve, especially in the first quarter here, and just kind of getting more and more information publicly accessible. And then as far as specifically to the topics that you're studying, we are currently, as far as our understanding goes, we can give you data as far as quantitative data that's disaggregated, doesn't identify officers, and I know that that kind of ranges in opinion as far as the actual data that we can give you, but I know city staff will they'll continue to work with you and try and navigate that. I'm not sure exactly what hurdles the audit committee specifically is running into. I apologize for not having that insight, but happy to connect with you offline too if it's something that we just talk through specifics as well.
Yeah, that would be great. Would love to start an email chain with you, and we can have a conversation sometime in the near future about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you. Those are all the questions I have. I will open this back up to the rest of the commission. And I'm sorry, I can't actually see people. Mr. Sylvester.
Hey, thank you so much, and I apologize for being a little tardy to the meeting today. Does the mayor's new group is the mayor's new group subject to open meeting law?
It is not, no. So because it is not made up of city appointed officials, I would have to probably get a legal opinion on this, but I believe because of the composition of the group and the work that they're assigned in doing, they are not subject to open meeting laws. And I'll say, I'm assuming there's probably a follow-up to that, Commissioner Sylvester. So the mayor's been very kind of, I'll say again, hands-off as far as how the group operates. And so the group itself is kind of deciding when and how to open and up their meetings and reveal their progress to the public.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Commissioner McGuire.
This won't be so much a form of a question, and I'm really sorry. I mean, I want to thank you. I know you had to do a high-level overview, and it's kind of the group is taking the approach that the PCOC is a member or is a part of a system that already exists, and they're kind of trying to step outside of that system and look at how to improve it. And so I wanted to underscore, I'd say, if there's any way we can at least meet with the group or participate in it, because we feel very, I think, unique in the whole existing structure of city government, because none of us work, well, currently none of us work for city government, I believe. And so we are doing our best to, get information and build those relationships, but partially due to turnover and various reasons, that kind of hampers some of our work. And so I think that's something that we see again and again is we maybe make some progress and then there's turnover at the PCOC. And so maybe there's certain things that we might not have felt like we can really get done just by the nature of who we are, right? And this is important to have community members and civilians doing this work, but then the other side of it is we're the only ones that maybe aren't doing it for years at a time, seeing the same people all the time. And so I think that was one of the motivations to want to be involved with the mayor's work group. That being said, I mean, can't say I'm super familiar with everybody in the work group, but there are people who touch the criminal justice system in the same ways that we do who are involved. And so I would just like to, reconsider, or if there's ways that we can bring our perspective in, because I think we are unique in the whole systems that are being looked at. So I know not much of a question, just taking the opportunity since you're here to kind of bring that concern up. So I just want to thank you for your time and being here for this. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner McGuire. I can certainly pass that along to the co-chairs of the group. And I know Commissioner Sarah has already emailed them as well. So they are aware of your interest in participating and being giving your perspective on kind of the system as it currently stands and your experience as well. So I know that's something that's being discussed currently, and they're kind of getting their wheels rolling right now. They had their first meeting in December and their second meeting this week, and so I think after this week's meeting they'll have a better idea of like their trajectory and where they want to go.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Jeffries. I don't see any hands currently raised. Thank you again for your time. And since we did have commissioners that were not able to attend this meeting, is it possible that they could follow up with any questions via email in case they wanted to ask you something in specific?
Yes, yeah, that would be fine. I will also say I will continue to be on these meetings. I don't always have my camera on, but I'm usually in attendance. So if there's ever a question that comes up, just feel free to call on me and happy to help.
Well, thank you again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next item of business, we will be skipping over item 5, as we previously said, and move into staff reports. I would like to recognize OPCR staff to give the commission a status report on new appointments. Is there anyone from OPCR staff to give that report?
Hey, sorry about that. Can you repeat just one more time? Was it new appointments that you were asking?
Yes, yeah, new
Okay.
appointments and reappointments if you have
Yeah,
information.
absolutely. So I guess I'll preface it with the obvious as you're running the meeting. Obviously, if your term expired and we haven't put somebody else in the position, you're able to continue until the position's filled. I don't mean that to sound ominous. I'm hoping to have you back. But yeah, so we are currently finishing going through applications and setting up interviews. Hopefully that those invites will be sent out by the end of this week. One of the, again, just the way that the calendar works out right now, and the impacts that it has on the work is, starting last year when, again, like my group took this over, kind of on behalf of the department, both for the Minneapolis Commission on Civil Rights and the Police Conduct Oversight Commission, is the virtual component of everything. Trying to find positives where we can. It made it a lot more accessible, to invite members of the city council, mayor's office to participate, kind of open up the process. So that way, down the road, when we used to get some questions, that I noticed where it's like, well, what happened here? What about this? Now instead of those being the questions, it's more you were part of this. You had somebody in the room that saw the whole thing. So I think it's beneficial, and I also think it's beneficial for people that are applying, to see that they're taking the time out of their schedule to participate and taking this seriously. So with, when we had it, after the election, we obviously had more, I believe it was more than 50% turnover on the city council. So we made the decision to wait until we had the new council sworn in order to know who we have to invite. Generally we'll use our home committees. So for OPCR, that's the Public Safety Committee. We want to invite, all the members of that, council president, council vice president, and then usually, depending on the, like where the applicant's from, we'll try to, if they're not already included, we'll try to extend an invitation to their respective council member's office. So as many of you probably know that the inauguration and everything was this week. Everybody got sat on their committees. We know who we're dealing with, and so we just kind of had to wait for this week in order to extend those invitations. And make sure that everybody's included. So the goal is to send those out and hopefully do the interviews in the latter part of this month, and then move everything through as soon as we possibly can, to get applicants put in for by no later than, I have to look at the council calendar and see where it falls, but no later than the end of February. So the goal is, I think we did it last year where we, and again, your group can talk amongst themselves, but if we still have a meeting in February, then we can do a special meeting at the end of the month. Or it'd be the beginning March meeting. But I think when we do the trainings, I think I definitely like the way we did it last year, where it was, we did it as part of a public meeting, so that again, that kind of added a degree of transparency. Anybody can, jump on and see how we're doing this and what we're talking about and what the questions are. So I think that's the goal this year as well for that. So.
That's great. I do have one question, just in regards to the applicants, not necessarily for myself, because I know, but for particularly people who are new applicants, have they been informed that they're still under consideration?
I don't know if when people apply what the responses from the clerk's office, obviously, as we've been staffing up, I mean, that's one of the biggest benefits of finally having some actual people that can, kind of assist with this process. So I think that's certainly something we want to reach out and do. But then I think, like as we've continued to build this out from last year and and formalize the process, that's something that absolutely is a consideration. I think even beyond the commission, it's just, in general, when you file a complaint, how many touch points are there when you apply for commission, so, but it's just one of those where like all of that takes like systems and people and time. And so it's certainly something I'm aware of, but I don't know if, like what the communication has been from the clerk side. From our side, I think we've kind of been, waiting for this point in the process.
Fair. Any questions for Mr. Hawkins before we move swiftly on to our next item? All right, seeing none. We will, I will, without objection, direct the clerk to receive and file Mr. Hawkins' report. And next, I will choose to acknowledge, because it is item 7, the chair and vice chair report, since both of them are not here right now. And we have about 10 minutes left. Before we no longer will meet quorum. I will say that there is no report to give from the chair or vice chair. Next, I will recognize Commissioner Crockett, who chaired the most recent audit subcommittee, to give a brief report on the audit subcommittee for December.
All right. Thank you, Chair Pino. So Audit Subcommittee, we met quorum, Commissioner Sparks and I, and we spoke about the no-knock warrants, coaching, and Attorney Fussy came to speak about a little bit about arbitration research and study. As far as what we spoke about specifically, nothing specific to report. I believe Chris, I apologize, I don't remember a specific title, but Chris essentially said that he's still working on a lot of the data for the coaching and no-knock warrants. There's some variables that he was continuing to work on. And then Attorney Fussy gave us a brief about arbitration research and study, and then that was it. Forgive me. Commissioner Sparks also had some notes there too. So
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And are there any questions for Commissioner Crockett regarding this report? Seeing none, thank you very much, Commissioner Crockett. And without objection, I will direct the clerk to receive and file this report. Next order of business is a discussion item regarding the City Attorney's Office outside counsel process. Mr. Fussy, are you going to be the one who's speaking on that, or is there someone else here to speak on that discussion?
I don't have anything to add on that. I think Commissioner Sarah was kind of chairing that up. I'd provide her with some responses to some inquiries.
Okay. Thank you very much. I will note, simply because it is attached to the public agenda on LIMS. This is the document you're referencing, the one page or entitled City Attorney's Outside Counsel Legal Services Information. Is that correct?
Yeah, there was an email I sent a few weeks ago, and there's also one today that I sent to Commissioner Sarah and the Vice Chair, and she said she was going to provide it to the remaining members of the commission.
All right. Thank you very much. And yes, that is correct. Chair Sarah did forward along that email. So thank you very much for sending that email. And we now have it. To the rest of the commissioners, is anyone interested in speaking on this item? Either regarding the email or the document attached within. Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to thank you, Mr. Fussy, for providing this, and I think maybe we will want to have further discussion when Commissioner Sarah is present again. And I looked at it today, but obviously I think we might want to, one of the questions that she's going to bring up is more just what does consult mean when we're looking at the ordinance. That City Attorney's Office is to consult with the Police Conduct Oversight Commission, but Commissioner Sarah isn't here tonight, and we don't have a lot of time, so I feel like this might, if we're going to have a continued discussion, that might be for another time. But thank you very much. Yeah.
And I agree. You took the words right out of my mouth, given that this is something that I believe we should spend more than just a few rushed minutes on. And without objection, I will table this item for next meeting of the PCOC, so that way we can consider this further. Next is the item of new business. This order of business is the acceptance of the 2022 meeting calendar. Our operating rules state that the commission shall meet on the second Tuesday of each month. In August of this year, however, there is a statewide primary on the second Tuesday of the month. So we will need to select a different meeting date. The draft calendar has been available on LIMS with today's agenda, and it shows an alternative meeting date for Tuesday, August 16th as a starting point for this discussion. I will now open it up for discussion regarding the alternative date proposed as August 16th. Any commissioners want to have an input in what we see in front of us? Hearing no discussion, do I hear a motion to accept the Police Conduct Oversight Commission 2022 calendar as amended to include August 16th as our meeting for the month of August?
Commissioner McGuire, I move to accept the amended 2022 calendar.
All right, do I hear a second?
Commissioner Crockett, I second the motion.
All right, there is a motion, will there be any further discussion before I ask the clerk to call the roll on this? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Crockett,
Aye.
Commissioner McGuire,
Aye.
Commissioner Sylvester,
Aye.
Chair Pino.
Aye.
There are 4 ayes.
All right, that motion carries and the 2022 calendar is adopted. Next order of business is the acceptance of public comment. I will open the floor and invite comments from members of the community. We will limit public comment period to no more than 2 minutes per speaker. And with that, are there any members of the community on the line who wish to address the commission? Please remember to press *6 to unmute yourself. Madam Clerk, do we have any members of the public that are on the line with us?
At this moment, we do not. We had one member, but that person just left.
Okay, totally understandable. We started late, so we'll make sure that we get the public comment in nice and early next time. Well, we've concluded all items on our agenda for this meeting, and seeing no further business before us and without objection, I will declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone, and we hope you have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.